All right, guys, welcome back. Let's hash it out. This is episode 15, and kind of got a few things going on, but want to welcome a special guest. Um, it's kind of been under wraps a little bit, but anyway, I want to welcome everyone. Thank y'all for showing up, and yeah, let's get into it, right? So, anyway, we got a few special people here today. Clint Westwood, State, Javier, and Josiah. So, chill in silence.
Hi,
Welcome,
everyone.
guys. So, what's going on?
And everyone stays silent. Yeah, like we never have anything to say. We'll
You got
probably.
nothing to say.
Yeah. Nothing happened. Nothing
Nothing's
happened.
happening in the world, right?
Peaceful and quiet. Yeah, especially right now. And for me, I've just been looking at Evergrande situation. That seems to come to a conclusion. I think it's pretty interesting with the ramifications there. It's more macroeconomics. As far as crypto, Javier shared some cool thing about Reggie versus Coinbase. I don't know if you want to touch on that, Javier.
I just read a little bit on that. And, Cryptos is one of the coins that I follow quite a bit, a long time, and interesting. I don't know what the how much was the settlement, or if it's just been completely settled, or if this is just a decision. But anything is good news in that department, because we've been there. We've been supporting them for a long time, and we just want to know where we go. There's still no use case for Barry the coin, but there's been some. He's been very open, and the people in the community know what we gain or win by his loss. It's just a coin that I follow, and I enjoy following.
Yeah. So who do you want to pass it along to? To Clint or Josiah?
I want to hear from Josiah. You hear from me all the time. I haven't seen Josiah in a long time, man. I'm curious what you're up to. What's going on?
So in the last couple of years, I think it's been 2.5 years, give or take. I, after the motorcycle accident, ended up changing careers entirely, left IT. I am now on my second license from our government to cultivate medicinal cannabis. So,
oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. Given there's only because we're a small nation here in New Zealand, there is under 40 license holders, and I've received 2 of them. So
wow,
yeah,
wow,
that's pretty awesome.
Bright future.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a learning experience to say the least, but building the facility from the ground up, learning so much about obviously the plant and things, being aware of what's going on both domestically as well as internationally, a whole lot of just general advocacy work for patients and their rights and that kind of thing, accessibility. It's been busy to say the least.
Yeah, but you also look really good. Like I can't escape the thought that you started working out more differently and started eating differently as well. I think maybe after the accident. Am I right to see that?
No, not at all. But when you're not involved in crypto, you don't age quite so rapidly.
Right. So
you look a lot better when you're not in crypto.
That's the secret. We should all leave it immediately.
It's like dog years.
Yeah. Is.
Well, you look good.
Yeah, so it's been an adventure. It's been cool though. I'm pretty excited about how things are going.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, so have you completely left, and do you miss not being in crypto so much, or is it just a different phase of your life?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I got involved in crypto was like 2017, and same sort of thing. I ended up taking a bit of a break when I was like going through a separation at the time. Maybe it was 2016 even. It's like I don't have anything at the moment. I think there is not even like remnants of any BTC lying around or whatever. I ended up everything that I had, I basically just kind of sold early on at market rates, and it helped to fund a little bit of some of the earlier business stuff. But who knows where the future will take us? It's at the moment, it's nice not to kind of wake up and roll over and check CoinGecko or whatever, right? Like I'm sure you're all familiar with that feeling, and you're going, "Am I rich or am I broke today?"
I'm a millionaire. No, I'm not.
Yeah. That was the greatest 10 seconds ever.
I knew it, but yeah, we've enjoyed it. I'm retired, so this gives me something to do 10 hours a day still. I haven't cashed out on anything, but I'm just enjoying, now that I'm with a certain group of people that are a lot more, just differently informed than I am. I'm really enjoying it because it's a community where, what about this? What about that steak? What about this, Dave? What did you say on this? Put those two together, and I still haven't lost the excitement. I've been in 5 years, but I think I've been in probably, I heard about it back when Bitcoin was at 200. I just didn't know how to get in, but it's still enjoyable. Like I said, so far, I'm still enjoying gives me something to bitch about during the day.
Something to fill the day, right?
Exactly. But
and it's cool. Like the technology is cool and the people are cool, and I think I miss that the most. But at the same time, that's also what I don't miss is the virality and just of certain things.
I think we kind of solved that. At least I did for myself, because it really resonates with what you said. And I eventually removed myself from all the public chat rooms, and I just went to smaller groups filled with just cool people. So I do Twitter Spaces on various specialized things with just people interested in that special subject, and I try to find several of those nuggets, and then tie them together and see where they cross relate, and have causality and test that against people that are in those spaces, and then I learn from my mistakes, but I also find things where I think, oh, this might be where the market is going. So I've been tying that back to crypto and macroeconomics, and I haven't been in this space for as long as you guys. I entered in 21, but I've always been interested about everything else in the world. So for me, it's very easy to I basically already thought I understood the world before I joined crypto, and then finance kind of gave me another filter and another layer. And now I really think it makes sense. And
but then you realize how little you actually knew, right? Like,
yeah, I still don't. But now I know how little I know. So that's a good position to have. It's like now I'm aware. Now I'm aware of where I stand, which is I'm never going to know everything, but at least I might see the framework or the contours of whatever the fuck they're building that we're heading towards in this new digital infrastructure. And that's where my focus is, both from software, hardware, and compliance. And I hope to capitalize on that.
And I guess this is part of the excitement about everything being open source and the ability for communities to kind of steer this kind of thing as well, because it's not just like a top-down sort of commandment, if you will. This is the kind of thing where communities and people are able to mobilize and say, this is where we actually want things to go. This is what actually makes sense to us. This is, I as an individual can have this kind of direction and sway things a little bit and lend my voice. So I mean, that's obviously not without its downfall.
I agree partly there, but the romantic side of mine wants to completely go ahead with your analysis, and I do think there's a lot of truth in it. And eventually, at the end of the line, at the complete end, you're probably incredibly right. But I think in the short term, or maybe a decade, we're going to see like big institutional investors and countries wanting to mark their territory when old money goes to new money, or when the old system goes to the new system. Because there's just at the end of the line a few people with a lot of money that decide things that don't want to lose their seat at the table. That's kind of the way I look at it. And what we've noticed in the last 2 years is that they're kind of coming out of the shades and out of the cracks and more towards the open because regulation is nearing and this space is starting to mature and incorporate into society. So they kind of have to get rid of shell companies, blow it up, and they kind of have to show it by their real name. So suddenly you have these JP Morgans, you have BlackRock, you have Fidelity, those big institutional investors that basically show up and say, yeah, we've been interested in this space for the past 8 years, but they've been shitting on it to suppress the price. And they've been, I think, manipulating the price as well to stay low. And I'm really excited for the next 2 years. I think this is going to blow up completely. I think this is
So fill me in, as somebody who's not been around in for 2.5 years, the last things that I heard was that the Lightning Network, everybody was getting all hot and sweaty about that, but it was a bit of a non-starter. And Mimblewimble extension blocks was coming up, and that looked pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
What's happened there with those two things?
Yeah,
Well,
the two
10
things-
megabyte.
And Lightning Network, those two.
Mimblewimble and Lightning.
Yeah, the Lightning Network created an extension block of 10 megabytes. And it's basically like a dark version of Litecoin, but only not through mobile yet. It's still only on the Core wallet. But yeah, I still have issues with Lightning Network. I still do not trust it. I believe that they made things more complicated for new users, new people to use. And, you know, I got into crypto in 2014. And back then, even in 2016 in crypto, if you'd have told me off-chain, if you'd have told anyone off-chain and third party, you'd have ended up with a fat lip. So, and then so many other things. Now the receiver and the sender both have to start a node to be able to, as far as the Lightning Network on Bitcoin. And so they just made things so much more complicated. And I don't see how that is going to move closer to, how do you say it? Not interoperability, but
Decentralization.
Mass adoption.
There's another aspect to that, if I may add to it, is that apparently Lightning Network has the possibility to ramp up to 1 million TPS, which makes it able to compete with like Visa and MasterCard, and that's all fine and dandy. And now they're basically saying, or at least there's a few voices saying, well, maybe we should build upon Lightning Network for like a possible, I don't know, a web-free client sort of thing, or like social media thing running on Lightning Network. But it seems to just be too difficult to code on it.
I would just use Tesla.
And the fucking hilarity of the entire situation is that it is off-chain. So it's like you're still giving it out to a third party. Like, why is that peer-to-peer? Like haven't we read the white paper? It's like the first fucking sentence. Like, Clint, you got the white paper there, right? It's like the first fucking sentence.
Got it over here.
Have you got it printed?
Yeah, hang on.
That's cool.
Yeah. Of course,
I got the first page,
Of course we do.
It's always the abstract,
Yeah, man.
that's the most important thing. Because, I constantly go back to that because, like you said, decentralization is key to me as far as having a payment network that's outside of a bank, outside of a financial institution, just like the white paper said. I want to be able to send money and not have anybody get in the way of it. And so that's what's important to me. And when I see Lightning Network, which it seems like, has there been any advance in the last 5 years in Lightning Network? It doesn't seem like there is, because you're building this kind of monstrosity on top of a blockchain. And it's like, why would we need to do that and base it on Bitcoin or on a blockchain when we do have Visa and MasterCard? I mean, what do you really gain out of that, I guess? So I'm more the peer-to-peer electronic cash guy. I want to be able to send it and nobody can get in the way, and I can send it anytime I want. And I like that kind of blockchain.
Can I give you a bit of like a potentially controversial hot take then?
Yeah.
We're not
looking at it as a skeptic. The Lightning Network appears to be a really good way to reward the early like Bitcoin holders who have a substantial stash, but who don't have mining equipment or don't want mining equipment or anything like that. Basically, in order to keep themselves involved, you effectively get a continuous stream of income, if you will, if it takes off. and they don't have to do anything other than enjoy the fact that they were there. They were early adopters, and white paper
I
begins.
actually saw a metric today, a graphical stat, where the whales of Bitcoin have been outcompeted by the generation that bought in after that. So there is more decentralization now on that network. So it's just like the market mechanics themselves of adoption have already decentralized that a little more, and based on how much they hold as a share. So I don't know if that's an issue. I think that works the way it should work.
Well,
Uh,
and
Well, you look at the list of
another
exchanges and
issue.
things who have a lot, and they're only going to benefit more, really.
Obviously, yeah, no,
Well,
I don't disagree, but it seems to be very spread out even more and more as time goes along. Like these whales generally don't necessarily have like the means to capitalize more on their gains just because they have more than other people that play the game a little bit better or are luckier and trade in at better prices and better times. So you also see whales losing their money. You also see wallets trading that make mistakes and then that in hindsight don't make good moves. So I don't think it's that clear cut, but it's something to definitely look out for.
And from a different observation, to me that it's just more of a simple. Look, Wimble came out. It actually went down. If you remember 17, any news would have driven any down because they announced Doge. Elon Musk announced Doge. And to me, that was just telling me how immature the market is. It seems like we still have if people settle for that. Okay, Elon Musk said Doge, that's fine. Litecoin went down the day that Mimble. I don't know if it's planned, but I'm sense a conspiracy theorist against the governments that are controlling or manipulating this game, or keeping the pace of what they want to release or what they don't.
Yeah, so to touch on that a little bit with maybe a segue, and maybe Clint or Dave can also go into Wimble a little bit more later. But
Well, I wanted to mention one other thing that
yeah,
you know
sure.
the other thing that I see as an issue with the Lightning Network is that there's a maximum. You can only run like 16 Bitcoin per node as a very maximum, albeit it's only to be used for small transactions. I get that, but those people who have a good bit of Bitcoin can per node. They're only the maximum is 16 Bitcoin that you can use to try to or put at risk, I would say.
Yeah, but how much would 16 Bitcoin still get you in like 2035? Won't that be substantial enough?
Or in 2025 with
Yeah, no, I know. I
with
just
BlackRock.
exaggerated a little bit, but that's a good point to put it back to 2025. It's something I want to touch on. I asked
That's
before.
$500,000 US. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't have $500,000 US sitting around that I can go, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just try that out
Let's start a node.
on
Yeah.
something
Right.
untested. Let's just risk it. You know what? Let's fuck it. We'll just risk it. Let's see what happens.
Dude,
Yeah.
in
Big one for the team, man.
2017, I sold 26 Bitcoin to pay off my credit cards at $1,200 a Bitcoin because I was buying in Bitcoin around like $250 to $500 from 2014 onward. So I mean, like right after the Mt. Gox era, but you know, back then it was so difficult. I mean, it was you had to do what blockchain.info from Coinbase, and then from a paper wallet, you had to import the wallet to blockchain.info, and then from there go to BTCE to buy
BTCE, that's taking
Litecoin.
me back.
Yeah, well, that was back then. Litecoin was like 8 cents. I see in my head back then.
Yeah. Now you're showing your age now, man. That's
Right.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to touch on, and maybe we can come back to that because Mt. Gox is definitely a part of it, is that you asked like what happened in the past 2 years, and one of the most prominent things that happened in the past 2 years is that we saw exchanges default, and that caused pain, and it also caused jurisprudence, legal regulation, and repercussions to really ramp up. It's been something that I've been deep diving on for the past 2.5 years now, ever since I joined the space. I think it's a good call for what's going to happen in the next run-up, because I think regulation or legal matters, and Mt. Gox is definitely among them, is going to be incredibly significant in the next run-up, but also in the adoption of just how the digital infrastructure will be adopted into society. Even if you're outside of crypto, how will a digital identity or a central banking digital currency influence your life from a social economic point of view? I'm a social worker professionally, so I combine those two, and I can see the ramifications. I don't look like from a hobby point of view. We talk about these big institutions, and it's the top of the market. But from a professional point of view, I deal with people in welfare that have disabilities, and I look at the bottom of the market, and like, how will a digital identity influence them? How will CBDC adoption influence them? And for me, that's the interesting part. And then if you look at like the past 2 years, what happened? Well, you basically see that regulation is kind of creeping in and is going to be mandatory at some point next year, which will have ramifications for all the players in the space: stable coins, tokens, utilities, intellectual property, exchanges, the miners, wallets. All of it is going to be regulated, and all of it is going to have to, when it regulates, either be compliant or not. And if you're not compliant, you're part of counterfeiting, and you're going to be dealt with by an Interpol. And I think many people severely underestimate the ramifications of it. It will be good and bad. But I think that's an interesting part of the last 2 years that we saw, like the capitalization. FTX is probably something you've heard of. I think outside of like crypto news, it made mainstream news. Have you seen that?
No.
Right. Well, basically, stable
Oh
coins.
wait, that's Sam
Bankman-Fried. Yeah.
Sam Bankman fraud.
Fraud.
Super best friend.
Well, so you're talking about this though, like there's only going to be like one definition of what is acceptable and what's not. Are you thinking we're going to see some other kind of like reefer madness, war on drugs, similar to what we had with the US basically going, no, this is bad. This is what this is the law, and everybody else, if you want to trade with America, then you've got to do this.
Yeah, I think we are, and I think it's West versus BRICS or NATO versus BRICS, and I think the entire NATO is doing the same thing. I see the same regulation happening in the US as in the EU. I'm seeing the same thing being adopted in Israel. Up until a certain extent, Japan and Singapore seems to do the same thing, with a little bit of variance on how the implications of the law will be impacted on society in regards to coins and wallets, but not on the fact that, for example, stable coins need to have a one-on-one backing. And that means that a stable coin such as Tether, USDT, is not allowed to print money. It's not allowed to be creating a derivative of a digital dollar. They're not allowed to have that power. But right now, it's basically, in my opinion, a fraud. I think only 70 to 18% of Tether is actually backed by real assets. For Circle, that's 93%. They actually have a very clean shop. But you also have, that's USDC. But you also have BUSD, Binance USD. And they're just basically, ever since FTX and Tether got under the light of the lawsuits, it's basically crumbling. Binance BUSD was heavily tied to Tether, and now there's news that they also funded to terrorist organizations, especially with the war in Israel. That's kind of a hot topic. So it's just everything is coming to the limelight, and by March next year, 2024. The legislation for stablecoins, among other things, will become mandatory. So they got a little bit short of 6 months. And then in October next year, 24, the law will become mandatory for exchanges to comply. And instead of being the market makers that suppress the price and just send from wallet to one wallet, and the actual on-chain activity is like 1 or 2%, and the other 99 to 98% is just the market makers from the exchanges suppressing the price and basically shaking the tree so they can make money off of retail's back. Very fraudulent what we see on chain. But if you look at like the legislation for next year, September, October 24, that they actually, instead of being the fraudulent market makers, they have to become the watchtowers of the space that have to inform the police within 3 hours if there's anything suspicious going on. So they just have to have a complete culture change in a year by being these vampire casinos, as Clint calls it, into like these goody two shoes that protect us from harm. And I just don't see that happening without like the rats leaving the ship. So I think we're going to see a lot more defaults. I think we're going to see a lot more fraud, like skeletons coming out of the closet, and that will probably hurt a lot for retail. They're probably going to dump that exit liquidity on retail. So I can see price going down a little bit next year, and maybe even further down than we might think. And then we'll probably, if legislation becomes mandatory and this shit is cleaned out at a low price, I think institutional investors will buy it all up, and we're going to see a $10 trillion market cap in probably March 25. I think that's the assessment of the market right now in broad strokes.
Well,
So
that, and I also see from that litigation and legislation coming, I also see that you're going to have more, what is that, third party custodians opening
yeah,
up for retail instead of a more peer-to-peer and owning the asset.
well,
Like
let's
not
go
just
into
a bunch
that.
of
Let's go
crypto.
into that, Dave. I'll do you one worse. Like Caitlin Long has the best custodian Bitcoin bank that is super compliant, great woman, great insight, true OG with decentralized Bitcoin and the way it should be run. The custodian part, she's got it nailed down on how she does that. Like they actually have a one-on-one backing. The keys are very stored very securely. She's under, like, I think the Wyoming law, which is the most progressive state in the U.S. when it concerns Bitcoin legislation. It's phenomenal. It's the way it should be. And she's actually been applying to the SEC for several times now to get her license, because she's giving all the people advice on how to do it. She's giving the example. She's got the best thing, but she's not allowed a seat at the table. Only the commercial banks in the US get that license because, fuck retail. You're not allowed to be grassroots. We own this market. You don't own shit. You're not allowed a seat at the table. So it's that kind of stuff that has me a little bit more, I don't know, pessimistic, but it's just, it's just the fraud of the system coming into the limelight. And it's just I don't think the last word has been said on it, but we're seeing it being, being dealt with. So hopefully it will go into the right direction. So that's definitely a point that needs attention. Same with intellectual property, right? Who owns what? Some things in code have actually been developed by people that they've created a patent and that got approved. So are we going to honor that or not? And what does that mean? Are people going to have to pay fees to one another? Are certain chains then no longer viable because they can't use the technology because it's licensed? I mean, what will happen? And that's part of legislation too. So it's just a big thing, Josiah. It's a big question. What happened in the past 2 years? Got a minute?
But that's
Yeah.
why we're here hashing it out.
Right. Yeah.
Yay.
So we touched on a lot of things, right? And I know for you, it's probably a lot of info, but what do you make of it when you hear it?
I mean, to be fair, like, these are a lot of the things, though, that certain people have been concerned about, obviously, since the very beginning. And Clint's sitting there; he's got a white paper right next to him. That's the kind of thing that is not directly touched on, but if you look at it and you look at some of the earlier messages from Satoshi and things, that there was very much the idea that this needs to be built from the ground up to avoid some of that kind of thing and give both people the power to look after themselves, the self-sufficiency, and avoiding those, you mentioned like intellectual property, if there are patents and that kind of thing. And there's definitely merit to basically looking at Bitcoin and going, it's been the default, it's been the de facto for so long, similarly Litecoin as well, without doing too much, because as you start doing other things, like if you look at other blockchains which have different validation methods and things like that. And then what happens if, like, let's just take Ripple for example. What happens if they decide that they're going to patent and a lot of the algorithms behind it? Can they do that now retrospectively? I'm not a lawyer, honestly.
Well,
but
SHA 256 was created by the NSA, right? And I think, I'm not quite sure, I think you once propagated that maybe Digibyte should move away from it at some point.
Correct. I still think to this day that the SHA 256 algorithm is its biggest weakness.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah, what's the current hash rate on it? What was that?
I don't know.
It's a good question.
How many
website? What's that mining website that told you all about, like... Let's have a look. Here we go. What to mine. Let's be nosy. Shit, this isn't something that I've seen in...
Hey, Josiah, can I say welcome back?
Yes, getting back in it.
Just kidding.
Let's do a quick calculation here then. Okay. Where are we? All right, so Bitcoin is sitting on 450,000 petahash. Digibyte sitting on 34 petahash. Yeah, that's not ideal.
Very diplomatic. I like the fact that you still care.
What was the math back in the day? Was it every like 4 or 5 blocks the required hash rate doubles or something under multi-algo with DigiShield? What was... You know what? Let's quickly bring up a spreadsheet and just have a quick. I wonder if I've got any of these still lying around.
I'm wondering what you're going to say when you've got all that data in regards to, why you think it should be changed.
Hypothetically, if we were to take actually, can we look at the mining pools? Who's been mining the blocks and stuff for Bitcoin?
I was more a component. Website, right? I was more a component of ProgPal and RandomX for getting rid of, I would say, like, in my opinion, I would vote for AutoCrypt and Script. I mean, not Script, Qubit. So, and leaving the SHA 256, Scrypt, and Skyne.
Right.
Well, Johnny
so
Law,
if we're looking...
What about Johnny Law here?
Johnny Law has also mentioned that it seems like Binance is buying quite a bit of the exchanges, the Digibyte, and it seems not to be retail right now. There are some big numbers being bought by some of the exchanges.
Bittrex, Binance, and LCX are still stacking up on Digibyte. No wonder, though, because I know why. Yeah, and of course. Because once regulation hits, fundamentals start to matter. And even if you don't know where the fundament
here. Sorry, go ahead.
And then with the IP, then with the IP of like Reggie Middleton, so anything beyond a layer 1 or a transfer of value through a smart contract, that is what I interpret as infringing.
So there's enough to do like a dozen blocks worth of reorg from like a couple of pools alone, like F2 pool via BTC. We're talking 3 minutes worth, but whatever. That's with a single algorithm. So that's SHA 256 is. It's very low down on the priority list, and if anybody felt like being malicious just for shits and giggles, it's not like they're going to cause major problems, likely, within that small time period. But some of those mining pools also have multiple algorithms and things, and yeah.
I think there was also what was the name again? NISP. That what was the name? It was a 4-letter abbreviation of they created an algorithm that's quantum proof
Oh yeah,
called
NIST, NIST.
crystals dilithium for signatures. I think if you do want to upgrade like an algorithm in Digibyte, why not make it quantum proof immediately?
Yeah, there's definitely merit to that kind of thing, especially. I saw there was somebody else who was looking at further encryption. I think it might have even been like some of Meta with their internal stuff for WhatsApp. They were looking at like migrating the communications to like quantum proof encryption. Yeah, why not? Like it seems prudent to, realistically. Like if you're going to do something like that, fuck yeah.
But it would also be a very good unique selling point, just from like a tech point of view, that people would be like, well, at least they got their shit together. Let's have a look here.
Yeah. Why not?
Still, we still have issues with 8.22 and also with Rosetta before any sort of thought of swapping.
Is Josiah aware of that, of what that actually is?
What
Yeah,
I'm aware of Rosetta, but what happened with 8.22? Because last I saw, it wasn't actually 8.22, but it was still based on version 7. It had just been upgraded to pull in BTC 0.22.
Well, they're doing
22?
testing. I've got Reddit pulled up. Actually, I can share that real quick.
So what's changed to? Because traditionally the first number was the major version in terms of there being some kind of a hard fork or similar, like with SigWit, multi-algo. Has anything happened there to warrant that, or is it just like a marketing thing?
Don't know.
Good question.
I'm presuming not. I'm presuming 7.22 still then.
Well, I know.
Here's the core 8.22 testing on the Reddit.
It's 4 months ago. Can you open it?
Yeah.
That's only 2 comments though, but what's on it?
So it is like a labeling thing.
I don't know what's down at the bottom. Yeah, it is.
So,
yeah,
no,
so if memory serves me right, like from what I could understand, they were, I mean, shit, it was
Just
2
test
years ago.
mining.
They were bringing in the changes from Bitcoin's version 22 or 0.22, whatever. That was right around Bitcoin's name changing stuff. I didn't follow it entirely. But there is no otherwise major changes that have traditionally warranted a major version bump. Like we went from version 5 to version 6, from version 6 to version 7. I have a feeling that this was a carryover from the fact that we were originally looking at swapping out some of the algorithms and things. And so we had like Digibyte 8 registered for like a domain name, and we had some media and stuff around that. And then instead of them going, yes, no, we're actually still version 7.22, not version 8. It's just kind of hung around from there. As far as I'm aware, though, technically this should, based on the conventions that were being enforced previously, be a version 7.
Yeah.
There's
and
no
to
hard
answer
fork
your previous question,
or have they actually implemented some algorithms or something now that they're swapping out? Or
no algorithms. I think Rosetta. You're aware of what Rosetta is?
Yeah, so that's still just largely on top. It's not
for
not
sure.
like
it seems to be more. It seems to be more like I think they want to tidy up everything in the code in regards to like that. What was that called again? That problem that they were actually making a little bit too much coins.
yes. Shit, is that still there?
No, I think it's still there, and I think they want to deal with that in 8.22. I think it was more of elaborate of a problem than they recognized initially, and I think they solved that, or at least they're in the process.
Shit, if only there was a voice in the wilderness saying that this was the problem, and there was certain other people going, "No, it's fine."
There's like an ocean between us.
I remember the discussions.
Yeah, well, it's always nice in hindsight, isn't it? I thought I'd mention it.
Well,
Yeah,
Yoshi
that's
has done quite a bit there. So there were a lot of things out of order, like, C out of parentheses, that sort of stuff.
mm.
So on each line of code. So Yoshi has gone through quite a bit.
Yeah, he's
With
amazing. I remember at the time he was doing the lion's share of work, like 95% of it.
Yeah, but even now, he's of course being paid, right? He's on the payroll of
Nice.
Digicorp, so he's doing that, I think, full time, and it's also one of
Cool.
the reasons why we don't really see a lot of what he's doing. So we see him meddling with the on GitHub a little bit with this sort of shit, but we know he's full stack or full time, doing all sorts of shit for DGMV as well, in regards to like encrypted video calls and like the DGMV ID, which is like the Digi ID through Autumn ID from Jan Maldemans. But
Nice.
since DigiID is an MIT license, legally you're not allowed to commercialize it, because that's the way the intellectual property works on an MIT license. You're allowed. It's freeware. It's software. You're not allowed to make money on it. But if they revamp it to something else with DGMV ID, presumably with the encrypted video calling, which is something nice for compliant enterprises that are global, like multinationals that are going to be fully compliant and encrypted, they probably want to use it for communications, then it will turn into a different product and they're probably able to sell it. So I think there's a lot of work on that. Plus, Yoshi kind of slipped on a space. They went on a space with DGMV, Digicorp, totally in the beginning, and after that they kind of quit it. There was a little bit of a hostility from people like me, questioning them to be on an ERC20. And one thing that Yoshi said on it is that he wanted to create like a DGB smart layer where he can basically transfer ERC20 projects to the Digibyte blockchain.
Hmm.
And that seems like a pretty cool idea to do, especially if things in compliance go bad for Ethereum and you want to offer an alternative. But obviously, since then, we haven't heard shit on it yet. It's
Well, that was
so
what they were looking at back in the day with colored coins, which eventually became Ethereum.
yeah. And then there's the company behind India's Aadhaar, which is the CBDC digital identity government dashboard program in India. That's been created by a company called Consensus, and Consensus works with Google and Microsoft data centers, and they suddenly start showing up in certain places of the crypto space as well. They apparently been working on a blockchain that was copied from Ethereum since the beginning, and they're also seem to be
Like
tied with
BTC or
Ripple.
like
Yeah, well, yeah, and then they're tied to like Ripple, Mastercard, and Visa. And I actually tracked down. Are you aware of LCX position in this whole thing? It's an
no.
exchange that launched DGMV, the token, and
Cool.
it's in Liechtenstein, which is a European country next to Switzerland, and it's part of the European Union for Finance, but Switzerland isn't. But people from Liechtenstein are allowed to dabble into Swiss finance. So it's actually the only global compliant exchange that's basically able to tap into Swiss banking. And
Interesting.
that's incredibly fucking relevant to where we are with like old money moving to new money. And the people that code the backend for LCX exchange, because everything seems to be done manually right now. I couldn't believe it, how slow it goes when you register. And yeah, some of the guys that are like 50 Indian tech guys working on the LCX backend. So obviously, I ran through all 50 of them, and that's just a thing I do. And you guys stare at code. I do due diligence on people, and it's just some of them used to work for Consensus, so at pretty high places too. And yeah, I can't help to notice that like with Threefold on like partly running some stuff on the Digibyte blockchain as well, tying Threefold they actually work with under a $1 billion euro European Union grant. I didn't know that. Thought that was pretty fucking relevant. And it seems they are all in the same spaces. So I was just wondering if during the time you were still in Digibyte, if you ever encountered that whole aspect of the narrative in the interest in like the conversation with the people there, because I think it's been going on at least since 2017 or at least since 2014. And
Definitely not in the circles I ran. And I mean, to be fair, a lot of the time, any mention of money or payment or anything like that, and I kind of just ran because I wanted to, like, on a personal level, maintain the capacity. There was no way that I could effectively be bought. And there were a few other people that kind of echoed those sort of sentiments, right? Like, we're not taking any kind of money.
you're talking to those people right now. You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know that, I mean, by the same token, I'm not really, I wouldn't be mad at anybody else if they did receive funding. I mean, to a certain degree, provided they're transparent enough about it. I know that it was something that a lot of people were seeking because, let's be honest, price go up, price go down, and sometimes you got to put bread on the table.
Yes. Obviously, people need to get paid if they build.
Yeah,
I mean,
and to be able to pay somebody like Yoshi, for example, that dude has so much talent. It's not even funny. He's incredible. I have all the respect in the world for him. Yeah, like
apparently
if you've
he's
got to do
running a
something
team.
to. Sorry.
I said apparently he's running a team there. There's apparently different coders as well, and we
Nice.
just don't hear anything about it.
Nice.
It's just so I think there's a lot more happening behind the scenes, and there's people that saying that it's circumstantial, but if you add everything up together, it's just so weird how many how many things seem to lead to the same direction.
So speaking of behind the scenes, then what else is going on in terms of like what's up and coming? What's some cool new shit that's happening? Like what's like Mimble Wimble was one of the things that I was quite interested in. What else is happening that's like that at the moment that are kind of in the pipeline, if you will, both specifically for like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Digibyte, but just in general?
Well,
Like
Renzo is building the desktop wallet
Digibyte,
for
yeah.
Digibyte and also several other things. The guy who did the Digibyte faucet, as well as he created the Digibyte domains now. So now you can do chillingsilence.dgb,
Cool.
or blinddave.dgb. So
Yeah.
you can do that now as well. And
And
then
to add on that,
other integration is to follow after that.
I think they're going to create and I think that was necessary. I think that's one of the things that they're keeping on the down low is like a UI UX for everything in that wallet.
As well as Matthew Cornelius is doing DigiAssets Core right now.
Cool.
So for the DigiAssets to be part of the core protocol.
Nice. Nice.
As well as there's a bit
A
that's
DEX?
going on in the background.
A DEX, you haven't even heard about the Digibyte Alliance, have you?
Right.
That was happening right around the time that I left. But to be fair, like they'd been sitting on it for a good 9 months. They were waiting for some registration stuff.
Yeah.
And that had just come through.
You want to hear some mind-blowing stuff?
Sure, fire away.
So they got their 501c3, which is basically the charity foundation, so that you can deduct your taxes for educational purposes to Digibyte. So you make money on the all-time high, and then you work that through your 501c3. It's tax deductible, and you basically pay Yoshi. So that's a good deal. And I think they almost got it in every single state, a few excluded. So they're almost there.
I think they did get Illinois now. So that would
Really?
be all 50 states. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Look at you keeping secrets.
Well, I haven't had Laura on yet, and I
Right.
haven't
Well,
discussed
I'm
anything
sure-
with Laura.
I'm
to
sure
have
she's
her
glad
on.
with you giving that scoop to the entire internet. But there's so few people here listening to this shit, but it's so fucking relevant because it basically gives it another out than an ICO or VC funding things. Now you actually have a 501c3 funding thing. So you basically give the entire market a third option because
Yeah, that's
venture
pretty cool.
capitalists, yeah, VCs always want to capitalize on their investment, and ICOs, they aren't decentralized. So it's just but it's the perfect way out for a decentralized financing if you want to do things truly grassroots. I think that's maybe debatable, but it is I think a good way to
Well,
move
and
forward.
it also makes
Mm.
so much sense for people like myself that instead of paying, the IRS, $10,000 or just say 50,000, I can lower my taxable income of capital gains
Yeah.
from crypto from
Yep.
swing trading to then just give a donation and a write off of 501c3.
Yeah.
That of the alliance that would create a lot more funding
Yeah.
for the advancement and for
And not to say that Bitcoin isn't building cool stuff, but we're just really zoomed in on
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
definitely on LTC too. But it's just
Super happy for them that they've managed to get that across the line, because I know that there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into that, and I think it might have been late 2020, early 2021, and they were getting pretty frustrated with how long that government takes fucking ages. I know all about that.
I work at government.
Yeah, well,
I know.
sorry to throw shade your way. You probably know better than most of us then.
Yeah, I'll take the blame. It's all my fault.
Yeah. Anyway, hey guys, I'm gonna have to disappear. I've got another meeting in like a couple minutes. I've got to jump in the car and go to. But I really appreciate you having me on. It's lovely to see some friendly faces again.
Glad you could
Right
make
on.
it.
You're welcome
Josiah.
back
Thank you.
anytime, man.
And
Have
if
a
you
good one,
want
guys.
to,
Enjoy. Take care.
Best of
Josiah,
luck with your business.
as a closing statement, if you want to come on more often,
Yeah,
you're more
always
than
welcome.
happy. Take your time. If you ever want to get things off your chest or you got questions, feel free. But I hope you got a little bit more of that crypto virus back into you. But
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
yeah, maybe see you later.
Have a good one. Take care.
All right, you too.
Take
Bye.
care, man.
Interesting.
All right, thanks for hopping in. See y'all. No, it's all good.
That's what I was.
No, it's good to see him again. I'm glad to see him. I mean, he's
Right on.
looking good. He's following
Yeah.
his dreams, and I mean, hey, he sold all his crypto to invest in something and do something that he thoroughly enjoys, it seems. And hey, it's just
2
a
out
tool
of
to
40
use.
licenses in New Zealand. That
That's-
looks like a bright future, man.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It really is.
And so that should be a lesson to a lot of us about following our dreams, about being okay. And I'm sure whenever he sold. I'm sure he was in early and then capitalized and was able to follow a dream that he feels is an asset. And he's still a young man. The journey is part of the road to who is going to make you what you end up being at the end. So good for him. Yeah, man. I didn't know much about him, and he just had that Laura and Dave and Steak and you, Clint, talk about. Just a good young man. I mean,
Yeah, I'm really happy that he came on, and it was good to see him after 2 years at least. And I was really pleasantly, I was making a little bit of fun and banter with it, but just seeing him, get those websites back again and having the genuine interest and the curiosity peaked again. I saw that spark in him, so I had to make a mark on it in some way because it's just great to see. Yeah, it's not to reel him in completely. He has to completely decide that for himself, but I don't have to make it easy for him to go out. I mean, it's, it's just, I really enjoy that part. Like seeing that the guy's so knowledgeable, and I really think it's a likable guy, very genuine interest. So yeah, no, hopefully he'll come on later. And I why not why not, leave the past for where it is and just move forward,
Yeah,
I would
I
love to
wanted to
know.
get to a lot of the questions yet still on Reddit from what I had posted, and in time.
Oh.
So in time.
Yeah, we have to take
Yeah.
it as it comes, right? Because what happens if you just put a light on him and you're like,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
here's
I don't want to
the-
bombard the guy with too
Exactly.
much too soon.
Exactly. Plus, that isn't really good decorum either. I mean, as far as I can tell, he always, worked his ass off for Digibyte in the community. He doesn't deserve that treatment.
Chief Fun
Well, he's
Officer.
influence-minded people that are, looking for the truth, man. We're hashing it out, not in a bad way. Your mama's fat. No, your mama's fat, but in a way of truly looking for. I think he may have even
Hey,
been
Javier.
informed on some.
Javier, how did you know?
Yeah, it's just the way he is. He just looks, answers. I look at face expressions. I try to read body language. And I by no means know how to read body language, but I get a certain.
What does my body language tell you?
Well, you're talking about mermaids. That's one thing. We're talking about crypto and Josiah.
So freaking easy to read. And just I breathe, I eat, I don't know. I won't go into anything else, but yeah, it's just I'm glad that he came in. It's hard not to get into some like mind. I think that's why you do so well on your spaces on Friday night.
That's the alcohol.
Like-minded people that get in there and talk and be drunk and feel comfortable, say what they want to say without being judged or being judged and being put in your place. I mean, it's an open. It's respectfully knowledge is going around where it needs to go. I mean, I think that everybody has a journey. And
well, it shows you that crypto still holds some value because he was able to sell it and do something with it. We don't know what the price was. It doesn't matter. It's not something that went to zero. No, some of them can, but I'm sure what he was involved in, he was able to use it to do something else with it. Maybe he had energy stored and used it for something else in real life.
Right. Maybe his business made enough that he's going to buy in again. Who knows?
You never know. Right. And maybe I'd like to get into that a little bit. I kind of want to get into that conversation with, what the ecosystem and the environment is there for cannabis and the regulations, because you see it here in the United States to where at the national level, I mean, you can't even have a bank account, if you run some of these things. And so it's legal in the state to do all this stuff. But then you look at the national level, with the national government, the policy, it's like, well, it's still a controlled substance. No bank account wants to, you can't open a bank account. They don't want to deal with it. So it's like it's a quandary for a lot of these small businesses that are offering that service.
The same here in the Netherlands.
What do we do? It's okay, take crypto. I mean, that's an example. Maybe we take crypto.
Yeah, we've had that problem here in the Netherlands for at least, I think, 60 to 70 years now, because we legalized cannabis in the 60s. And we've just been waiting for the rest of the world to catch up, including with like the gay rights in the 60s and euthanasia in the 60s and abortion in the 60s. I mean, for us, it's been like 70 years on the brakes of progression. It's like, when will the rest of the world finally wake the fuck up to progression? But I know it's not that easy and it's not that straightforward. But it's the same thing for prostitutes in the Netherlands. Like, they can't also get a bank account and get a mortgage. So even if you run, like, to go back to your cannabis, even if you run a really good business, a good, like, proper coffee shop, you just even if it's like top notch everything, it's more like a high end pharmacy, and you go there and these guys can't even get a mortgage. It's just they have to make the entire money of the house and buy the house. It's just
casino.
And then obviously they don't live as big as the other people do, because they could live it big if they would want to, but they don't want to give that example to the rest of the country. Like, you should just get into cannabis. But I think at some point, especially with crypto, you can't stop that, because you're going to get mortgages on crypto, and these guys are just finally going to get paid, and you're probably going to see an even bigger market there. And
Well, and
they-
that's one of the questions that was posed on Reddit. That one of the questions I wanted to ask, because that's an issue here in the U.S. is trying to accept crypto for services or goods.
maybe create an OnlyFans mortgage system.
But can he accept crypto now in that aspect? Or there was something a while back of accepting even Digibyte, in New Zealand for the business he's in. So,
Yeah, we can ask that later.
one day I'd like to ask those questions.
A lot of things to hash out in the future, and hopefully we have opportunities and we can really get into some of this stuff and talk about it.
And yeah, there was so much to ask him, but we were all, even I don't know much about Josiah, but I was ready to ask him more questions. What about this? What? And you need to allow just for him to get his feet wet and understand. We'll reel him in. We set the line out. We put the bait out.
Hey, he showed up. I mean, when was his last interview? When was the last time he was, on any of these things?
And that we hold no. We speak
I think
about everything.
I think he left August 4th, 2021, and
Wow. Over 2 years.
that was the last time he made He made one public video after that, I think, or in that week, and then
Right, but it also makes me feel really good to know that even though through disability and everything, I learned to use a computer through assistive technology, and I got into crypto from that. And then I've advanced so far now with what I'm able to do now, even through doing YouTube and broadcasting live on multiple platforms, all of this, it makes me feel really good to be able to bring someone like Josiah back into the community, just like I did with Script Skynet. I brought Script back in. I need to reach out to Script. Another one I'd like to have on is Blizzard. I'd like to bring Blizzard, I'm in Elrond as well. I know Blizzard went to Elrond. Yeah. I would like to get Blizzard on to ask a few questions there as well, maybe with a few other NFT people.
I fully agree. I think that would be a good space. Not much that I know about, but you could also throw maybe like the intellectual property angle at it and say, what would you do if there's IP rights on NFTs? Like, do you have to pay a fee? Or are you going to be able to move your NFTs from one chain to the other? What chains are you even looking at the whole regulation aspect of NFTs, or are you just making money on pictures? Not to shit on it, but it's just it is I think a valuable point, and these guys are very knowledgeable on it and where it's going and where it's headed. And there's a few people in the XRP community as well that know a fair few things about NFTs. So maybe you can pile them all together in an NFT space. That would be lovely. It's definitely that sort of shit that's good to do.
As well as to also have Laura on one day to further explain more of the alliance and that. So for those of us with tax implications, how different things can help and work out there, I would like to have it instead of just secondhand. I would like to have firsthand.
What was said, I know Josiah couldn't hear it because I wanted to tell him that just before he decided to leave, and then it wasn't possible anymore. But I basically wanted to share with him that they pitched DigiID to Homeland Security,
right?
And what was said,
right?
That's a pretty big
Laura,
player, right? These are pretty big fucking names that you pitched
and
to
the IMF,
Security.
the International Monetary Fund.
That one was there too, yeah. And it's just, but that was the article. But the pitch itself from Homeland Security was Homeland Security and all the other, national security border and advisors, agricultural shit, like military shit. Everything was there on that Homeland Security pitch.
And speaking of which, you recently got something done too, Steak. I don't know if you want to mention that here.
Haven't I mentioned that?
I don't know. No, you have not.
I think you did. I think you mentioned it was that day. But go ahead and mention it again, Steak. That's big. Big news.
Yeah, it's very relevant. It's huge news, dude.
I just looked a little bit at the website of the United Nations, and I saw a while back that they have a department for blockchain, and they have yeah, they kind of have a position on the United Nations on like sustainable development goals, and they want to incorporate that on the blockchain. And I know that isn't really like it's a touchy subject, right? Because it touches in those ESGs. Those, are you okay, Dave? Is that the last bit of at the bottom? That's the alcohol, isn't it? Yeah, I'll let you just have a sip, and I'm going to enjoy your
You
reaction.
got to
Just-
mix that shit better.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Anyway, so I registered there because I figured like eventually Larry Fink of BlackRock that created that whole ESG shit with like the Dave, my man,
Down the neck.
nice. Anyway, so I think those ESG norms eventually are going to be changed a little bit, but we are going to see the future with like your carbon footprint and your social credit score and stuff like that, either on the front or the back end tied to your digital identity. It's not going to be pretty. We're not going to like it. And they are open in like changing it because they know that what it is right now isn't working. So they're aware of it. Like they want to reform like USGs to make it more livable. And I know it's a touchy subject because many people um, either are pro or against. There's no nuance in sustainable development goals and digital identities, and I kind of want to bring a little bit of nuance in there. Um, so I read it and I signed Digibyte on the charter, and it actually got approved. And from all the blockchains involved, it's the only decentralized one. So I thought, it's nice to have a logo and the name of Digibyte under that list, even though, you can't really sign a decentralized blockchain because no one owns it. But I thought, that's the beauty of it. That's also what I put in my application. Like, I don't own the shit. No one does because it's decentralized. And I think that's why it's relevant. So if there should ever be anything done in that regard, and maybe someone in the United Nations looks at it and analyzes it at some point, to at least take it into consideration. And if they would also take Litecoin or Bitcoin into consideration. But no one signed it for Litecoin or Bitcoin yet. So you could do that and maybe wait a few months and just put it up there. You just fill in a form and you do it. And I think it's necessary because I'm of the opinion that many people in the United Nations probably mean well, but they don't know this space as well as we do because they focus on their own job. And if they at least have the possibility to know about it so they can research it, they might see that there's a difference between decentralized and decentralized. And they might actually make the right calls. But if you don't put your name out there, then how will they see you? Right? So from that prospect, I thought, it's relevant. I'm gonna register it, and I'm glad it got approved. So, yeah, the Digibyte logo is now on the United Nations website. Yeehaw! Pretty damn
all
fucking-
right.
Badass.
Way to go.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Congratulations. Yeah, I mean, it's just how much more work like this is being done behind the scenes from other people.
How much is it,
It's
Dave?
not out there yet.
231.
Okay.
That's not that bad, but still deserves a correction.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Javier, how much work is being done behind the scenes? Right?
Yeah. And maybe for a good reason. Maybe there is a reason. But it's also a responsibility to dig in deeper. And if it's supposed to be secret, well, then make it more secret, or else if it's out there and it's been out there before, it's legal for us. It's not that it's legal. It's just available for that information to be put out there for the rest of the people. And once it's open game, then thank but no how to do research like yourselves that can help us further the game. We're all in it for the same reason, whether it's in money or whether it's in for tech. I think there's always a bit of it that's still in there for the money. That's how Josiah was able to get to his new business.
Yeah.
And we don't know where the hell we're headed.
Got to survive. You got to live.
Well, the
And
thing
the
is,
same thing here. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, in 2021, I took profit and I was able to do so much work on renovating my rental property, my home. So, and again, to further advance the amount of my dollar cost average by being able to use one of the rentals as, a Airbnb as my dollar cost average to go into crypto. I mean, I own it. Why not? So it was just risk to reward.
yeah, I can't really blow holes in the things that are happening in the background. That's the only thing that I like and dislike on what I found, and we'll see. I hope we're fucking right, and we're going to capitalize on it, and we're in for a hell of a ride. It seems relevant. Regulation seems relevant. I can't really dismiss it. So it's just not really the talk of the town, huh? I mean, people talk about the ramifications of like shit defaulting and Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX and the fraud, but then they don't talk about what the solution is. Like the regulation is the solution, but that rarely gets talked about. Like what is it then? What kind of regulation will we get? How will that influence the market? And I just don't understand that. Even if I look at like and I hold him in very high regard. You have like a lawyer in the XRP space called John E. Deaton. You probably heard of him, and he makes great content, like marvelous work. He attends like these lawsuits, and I read up on it. And he's obviously a lawyer himself, so he's very specialized. The guy's got like I think almost 300K subscribers probably. So, he blown up. Good for him. And he did the whole XRP versus the SEC settlement case, and he reported it on it. Brilliant work. And now he's doing the same thing with the SBF FTX court case. That's cool too. I get a lot of info. But what I miss from people like him is why isn't he looking at the generalized picture of all those court cases and legal work around the world and see the entire connection? Because he's capitalizing on it as he goes. I get it because it's content for his show, but it would take such a guy like him to test like my thesis with him and say, hey, why the fuck haven't you looked at this? And why don't you cover this? This is a much bigger story. And I would love for him to do that too, because then I think we're going to see more people, waking up to the idea and gain some clout of it. And eventually, at the end of the line, if it is the way it is, then we're already positioned well. So,
Speaking of being positioned well, life of a dog, baby.
yeah, doggy bite.
What a position.
Doggy bite.
Doggy coin.
Eventually it all
Doggy
goes to the
coin, yeah.
dogs, right?
Telling you. IO.
Also,
He doesn't answer but to one master.
Yep, he's like, nope.
He's
master
trained.
coin.
He's trained.
Master coin.
He only answers to one master.
Not even that. I answer to him more than he answers to
That's
me.
how it goes.
I sent a thank you to Josiah. He just replied to it.
Cool.
And he said, thanks again for the invite. Say hi to the fellas for me and appreciate your time and insight. So that's pretty nice. Pretty cool, man.
Dave,
Very
I want
cool.
you to follow up on what your mention. And, this is a respectful show. From Laura to, I don't even know who else, from LT. We are not well, maybe we are dogmatic and bombastic a little bit, but
Bombastic?
information. Therapists use that on me. I don't know what it means. But thought I would throw it out there and use
Oh,
a bigger word.
it's
Dropping bombs.
Yeah, I
Bombastic.
figured exactly what I have no idea. But no, what I was saying is, people that get invited, it's not dog pile. It never has been. It's respecting the people that hang on to the show with the respect that they deserve, and the information, and realizing that not everybody is in the same situation where to speak as freely. I mean, there's Josiah. He's in it one way, and now he's out. And he seemed to be enjoying some of the conversations or some of the y'all were putting out there. So hopefully, it's not a guillotine that we're putting anybody through, and it's not something that we're trying to. I hope one day to get Cliff High on the show. I'd love to get Reggie on the show. I'd love to get some of these people. With all due respect,
it's very simple, Javier. If we're right, they'll be on the show. If we're wrong, they won't be.
Yeah, could be.
And
But Westwood-
if we're right, they want to come on the show.
Yeah, I think that people will appreciate it. Like I said, we see it for the future, and probably after the next run. Oh, these guys were talking about that.
Well,
Weird coin.
let me give you another nugget with what I said at the beginning of the space, and of the stream, and I said it also, just before we went live. Evergrande, 30th of October. That could. I think potentially that's the supposed black swan event that most people are missing on, because it defaulted over 2 years ago, and they've just slowly demolished it, because it's tied into so much that if they would have defaulted it completely 2 years ago, it would ruin the entire world economy, would come at a standstill. So the deal is that in the West we have too big to fail, so we basically bail out industries with tax money because of the ramifications for the economy if we would let it default. Now the Chinese government is a little bit different, because they basically say, well, if you fucked up, you fucked up. And we're not going to help someone that fucked up because you're a fraud, and frauds need to be punished. They don't deserve the help. So,
And same
The
thing
blow-
like with the USDT, the no audit, right?
right,
So,
it's never been
and
audited.
and,
That's-
and then
that's
they
funny.
even then they
it's funny
even
you
tell a
mention
New
that.
York judge. They even told a New York judge no to them
Sure.
being audited. So
Sure.
how does that fare in compliance?
Well, the good point that you touch upon, but to go a little bit back to Evergrande, and maybe we can go then to the fraud in the system that you touch upon, because it's the same thing with SBF. Probably no one is going to jail, at least no one relevant, because he gave money across the board to everyone, so everyone's been bought and paid for. And if you look at the Evergrande situation, the verdict for not being able to pay 19 billion is going to be up at the 30th of October in China. So it's probably going to be the 29th for you guys. And what's going to happen? Well, one of the shell companies said we're only able to pay the initial investors back 5 cents on the dollar. Now, if you look at what Evergrande is tied to, because I just mentioned 19 billion, but they're the biggest building company, infrastructure company in China, and they also accepted most of the foreign work. So, like in Malaysia Gardens, they decided to build that, and they're all across the world building shit that comes at a standstill, and that work isn't finished. So there is no asset backing up the initial investment. It's just shitty houses, shitty infrastructure. The Chinese government is actually tearing them down. So they're not going to build upon it. It's not going to become anything. So the only thing valuable is certain types of land because it's situated properly. That's the thing that holds value, but not the thing they build upon it. So that's the 5%. And so if that goes down, potentially we would be staring at like 3 trillion in dollars. And it turns out that the foreign company that's very heavily invested in it with stocks of various companies of the people that are still the suppliers that are still waiting for their money because they're not being paid is partly also owned by BlackRock and is also tied to the U.S. Treasuries. So that's where I think the domino effect will go to. And yeah, and I think that's why your mind explodes.
Who was it under Trump?
Oh, I can go even further than that, Javier.
Remind me on this. You might know, Steak. Under Trump, was it BlackRock or one of the other big ones that was put in charge of Treasury investments, U.S. Treasury investments? Was it BlackRock or Vanguard, or I can't remember who it was. It was one of those big entities, I remember.
I think it's BlackRock and JP Morgan.
That's what I was thinking. And they
Morgan
were kind of tied to the Treasury as far as handling
BlackRock and
investments.
JP Morgan actually hold, this is a little bit of a public-private secret, but they actually hold a part of the stocks of the Federal Reserve.
One of the owners.
Crazy.
Yeah, so they make 30% annually on it. So that's their cut.
The dollar 2 cent value right now. I'm reading and what I understand, the dollar is basically worth 2 cents. Now we're paying 5 cents to that dollar. First, are we getting to that point where this all blows up?
Yeah.
Well, I think what I wanted to mention is I think once that court case is like not the straw that breaks the camel's back, but the anvil that breaks the camel's back. I think it's so big that it's not going to be absorbed by any liquidity in the market. So that's why I think you see all these companies ramping up all sorts of advertisement right now because they want to get the last bit of exit liquidity from retail. So because everything, if everything is going to go down in price, then this is the high price. So you want to make the money now, and I think we're actually, I'm just going to call it. I think we're probably going to have till the end of the month, and that's when you're going to get your shit off the exchange. I think that's when the ride down starts until the end of next month. And I don't want to. It's not financial advice because I don't know what the ramifications will be with a Bitcoin spot ETF that could potentially ramp up the price immediately afterwards. So I don't advise people on selling right now if shit after that immediately goes up, because if the economy goes to shit, commodities that are valuable, they will go up, like gold, silver, and also a Bitcoin. So I don't think it's the time to sell. But I think it's going to be just a shitty time social economically.
Yeah, in the interim, that's what happens. If you look at 2008, you would think, oh my gosh, I got to be in a safe harbor asset. I got to be in gold and silver. Well, they plummeted on the market exchanges. But when you went to go buy the actual physical metal, the spreads increased. So, I mean, it might look horrific on paper, but the thing is, you might think you're going to get a good deal when everything crashes and you're sitting on the sidelines, but the whole reason it's crashing and what's probably going to be affected in a big way, yeah, you might see a pump in the dollar as a flight to safety, but that's only going to be short-lived because then people are going to start looking, what's the real asset? What's the underlying asset I need to be holding? You don't want to have those assets now, I don't think, and then dump it, think you're going to get it cheaper, because you're right back in their wheelhouse. You're right back in their vampire casino at that point, and you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, they do all kinds of crazy stuff with, call it regulation, I guess you could say. You can call it, dictatorial edicts, that kind of thing. So, I mean, if you're in a sound asset, you got the asset. That's why you have the asset for times like that. And it doesn't matter what that stated price is. You might not be able to buy it at all. not even the stated price, that's for sure. But I definitely won't be able to buy an asset for the price on paper or on the screen. And probably won't be able to get it.
How do you
So
take advantage?
that's a dangerous game to be playing, I think, to let go of a real asset in the hopes that you can get it cheaper. Well, set some on the sidelines and buy it cheaper if you can at the time and add to your stack.
They say there'll be a time that you could use the cash that you have, physical cash, and then there'll be a time where I'm still eager to learn, and I hear, from Ninja to different people, how will you take advantage if a lot of the system is closed? Unless you have a suitcase full of, and that doesn't look suspicious.
And maybe they don't want it at that point. I wouldn't want it at that point unless I know I can get rid of it and use it for something. But if there's a question that, hey, everything's kind of unwinding, it's becoming very unstable, I'm not going to take, certain things because I don't know what the future holds for those because, face it, the U.S. dollar, the Treasury, or I should say the Federal Reserve note's at the core of all these problems. So you're going to put your investment in that, think it's going to hold purchasing power. I mean, that's a risky game to be playing, I think.
One of the things that I think is important to know is that because of the rise in interest rates from almost like 0% to potentially up to 8% in the near future, we see a lot of what we would call zombie companies that no longer can make a profit because they had a business model entirely based on low interest rates where they could just get cheap money or free money. So those zombie companies that default or have yet to default, what they tend to do is that they tend to repackage those companies into a new company, and then those stocks owned by those companies of those companies get sold to pension funds. So pension funds don't know that they're holding the shit back of the economy. And this is basically the game that's being played. Now, if the interest rate goes even up further because the treasuries take a hit with the whole Evergrande shit, and the interest rates will go up, and the zombie companies will completely fuck over, then the first thing that's going to crack in the society is the one holding the shit back. And guess what? That's the pension funds. The pension funds are the first one that are going to fall. And there's so much liquidity there. That's going to be the exit liquidity for the money that the big institutional investors lost. So they privatize on the profit, and the way they socialize on the losses is they make sure that your fucking pension funds are not yours. They're theirs because they own you.
And
You
look at it. They may be the most liquid markets out there, but look how illiquid they are to the individual. I mean, they're locked up.
If you want to solve it, Clint, you put those pension funds tied to a Bitcoin ETF because that's an immutable Bitcoin ETF. But you do it with paper Bitcoin. It's an IOU from, your Coinbase BlackRock. So everyone thinks I'm not going to buy that paper Bitcoin because everyone in this space knows it. But if it's tied into the pension funds, guess what? 99.9% of the entire population just bought your paper Bitcoin.
Yep.
So
that's the only option that's presented.
And that's the only fucking option. I can't hear you, Javier. You're on mute. You're on mute.
And if that's the only option, you buy it because that's going to buy your next asset. Maybe it's a
and
house.
You're only going to get your pension. You're only going to get your pension if it's digital, which needs a digital identity. And that means you're not a patriot unless you're registered with a digital identity. So it's very anti-American not to have your pension funds sorted. So,
But it goes back to kind of like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, to where most Americans say, I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't volunteer into that. But it's like, well, if your pension's locked up in that system and you can't access it, and this is your only route,
Clint,
with that will be, I think, that whole immigration thing.
It's very easy. Yeah.
Identities. We need identities.
Imagine a 60 to 70 year old for fun. Let's do it for fun. I'll do it for fun. Imagine a 60 or 70-year-old woman that used to be in social studies and just doesn't know fucking tech or linear thinking or logic and is 60 to 70 years old. And her favorite politician tells her to get a digital identity for for her pension fund, and you talk to her and you have to talk her out of it. Good fucking luck.
No, exactly. They're too
You're
invested
not
in
going to
that.
talk her out of it.
nut.
It's not going to fucking happen. It's
No.
not going to fucking happen. She's not going to listen to you.
That's her only option, and she thinks that's her only option, and she was told that's the best option, so that's going to be her option. That's what she'll choose.
Put it
And a
this
lot of
way,
people will choose that.
the bank guarantees and insures any fraud. They show them how to use it. That is your money. You go to the store, it works.
Yeah.
Like you said, Dave, or what's it worth when it works? Guess what? That ETF, Bitcoin, is going to work. You're going to go, and it's going to work. And how do they get the rest of the people? They run the numbers up. You run the numbers up, and you're like, wow, I had $10,000. Now I have $50,000. Are you going to complain? Then there's controlling that market. They can bring it up to 50,000. They can bring it up to 100,000.
You know the thing that kind of keeps me up at night, even though I sleep like a baby. But it is that same exit liquidity will probably make me money, and I don't know how to feel about it. Because part of me is like I did the work. Part of me is like I did the work, and other part of me is like I'm capitalizing on other people's pain.
But that's all markets. When you really think about it, it kind of is, because if you're, if you do well, somebody else is taking that bag out of your hands.
This one isn't like a fair, bare knuckle fight among equals. This one is just a giant stepping on the net.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's important right now.
We are going to move. Clint, you will be using some form of CBDC. And I don't know how long this will last. It didn't go very long in Nigeria. Nigeria goes, we don't want it. But there will be people that don't know about Bitcoin, and they're going to go.
How many pension funds are in Nigeria? Yeah, I mean, we're different here in the U.S. from that aspect.
Happy hash day, peeps. Thank you. I just lit up a hash joint, so I'm
there you go.
At least
hashing it out.
At least before the stream, I'm going to do another one. Fuck it.
When we say hash it out, it has multiple meanings, right?
Yeah, I had to go get a
refill
myself.
For me, it does.
Did you stir it on, Dave?
Was that?
Did you stir it?
Of course.
The name is Dave. Grind Dave.
Grind Dave. I know. I was trying to watch the video.
Shaken, not stirred.
For Grind Dave, and I couldn't find the channel.
Shaken, not stirred.
Yeah. If you don't stir it, all of a sudden you get to a point where you're like, wow, this is really, really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, then you realize it's a premix, and I'm adding more tequila to it, and it's like, oh shit.
It's not even.
I didn't know it was pre-mixed. I just knew it was the same bottle. I didn't know it was pre-mixed.
Oh man!
I just added 2 extra shots to it, and it's like, oh wow, this is a really good drink.
Oh my! Hey, that happens.
Yeah,
happens here a lot, especially on Friday nights late. Dang.
Halloween, that's what State's talking about. And I have a feeling that there's going to be, I don't know, moves in the market. I think a lot of information is starting to get out. I'm starting, I don't know if you went to Underground last night, Clint. It was a pretty interesting show. We had company, and so I wasn't able to stick around for everything, but there was a lot of topics that are being brought up that have more, not that they don't usually. He runs a good show, but we're starting to get to more meat and potatoes, and that and read that in the places that I go to. People are starting to give more information, allow more information to get out. I don't know what it is, but it's a different vibe than when Lambo.
Yeah.
In my
Well, it's a bear market, right? So all the
Yeah.
shit that disappears in a bear market, and you're left with people that are still sticking around for it for the last 4 years because they actually believe in it,
Yes.
and it weeds out the shit.
Yep.
So it weeds out the shit. It's beautiful. You get to that point again. You see that you're very right in noticing it, Javier. You're very in tune with it, but you get to that inflection point at some point where you're like, this is getting different. Like now the real shit is it's out. And yeah, I'm kind of happy and excited for it, but it also scares me. And the reason why is that when there's scammers, there's money to be made.
Oh yeah.
When there's
Oh,
no scammers and everyone is serious, that means there's no money to be made.
well, I,
From a trading
This is what-
point of view, right? Not an investment
Yeah,
point of view.
it's there in Litecoin, I think, again. I think it's there in Digibyte. Jose's posting, or I'm reading more. It's coming up. I don't mess around with my computer settings. I follow who I follow, but LT is posting more. You are posting more. Dave is posting different. Not necessarily with just one topic.
I was always posting the same quantity of things, like it's and of the same people. So it's just the narrative I've been following. So I don't really see what you're seeing, but if that's the case, then that is telling, in my opinion.
Oh, there's
I
a
do
different vibe out there. There's no doubt about it. I see it on the political scene, just from the American psychology, I guess.
What do you see? What do you experience?
I look at just from my awakening, I guess you could say, seeing the system for what it is and what a fraud that it is. And, with 9/11, everybody rallied with the flag. Everybody's like, didn't even look through the narrative, believed it. And now with the things that have been occurring and now what you have going on in the Middle East, I see a lot of people that surprise me that are saying, you know what? This whole thing is it's a rigged game like it's always been. And they're starting to call it out all the time in real time. Even they're seeing through the illusion when they didn't used to be able to see through the illusion. They realize that people are pulling strings. And the next logical step is, okay, if they're perpetuating frauds on us all over the world and it's increasing, what do I do about it? And so that's the next step, the leap that has to happen that we've made. We've realized, okay, this whole thing, we've got to do something to get out of it. And so people are starting to think, okay, now I see the system for what it is. What do I do about it? And
So let me give you a mind fuck. Do you think that the U.S. would allow everyone to see it if they weren't ready for it?
No, I agree with you. They have to be, because they know it's a dead system. They know that the time is ticking and it's running out.
They planned for this ever since the Second World War.
Absolutely they have. And so, yeah, is it completely manipulated? Yeah.
For me, it's very telling that the EU unequivocally is just behind the US. Like unequivocally. There's not even a debate about it. Not from left or right. There's no debate. There's not even a public discussion about it. It's just, this is the way it is. It's not even going to be talked about it. There's no one questioning in the EU to say, hey, should we kind of do our own shit? None of it across the board. Nowhere for years on end. It's just completely silent. So I think that's
and then if you do, then you're silenced like the Dixie chicks, right?
Yeah.
Because now we're back to the babies and the incubators.
That's basically where we're at again. Yep, they're trying the same old stuff.
It gives the EU a lot of security,
weapons,
but
of
also safety, and it also gives the US security and safety to know, we're not alone on this shit. So together we can definitely handle this, and it's just a done deal. And you just get back to what I see is a few things. I see innovation and of technology happening in the West, whether that's the US or the EU, doesn't matter. Like it's ramping up in technological innovation. It's scary. Nowhere else in the world is this being done. It's like new shit is being built everywhere, or at least being seeded. Maybe they don't take the harvest yet, but everything is being seeded. And you see the military ramping up completely in the EU. Like that's unprecedented for at least 7 decades. Like that's really, really significant that the EU said we want to create a European Union to have peace on the land, and now basically under law d'applaus said, yeah, let's build a military again. Yeah, that's pretty. For European, you would probably be that's like I don't know how to compare it to the U.S. It would almost be like let's abolish all the states in the U.S. That's how big it is, in my opinion.
Well,
It's
and
just,
it and
it's
it
just and no one's talking about it.
and it also seems as though now that the war in Ukraine is over,
Yeah, it
or at
ended.
least the funding is
not
now
talking about it.
combined.
Yeah, and that means two things, Dave. That means two things. It means either Russia gets their way with the fact that the land that they occupied is going to be part of their ceasefire deal, and they get to keep it, or you get a big fucking weapon in one go.
Or we're being distracted.
Yeah.
No, you just
the other hand,
no. There's people on the ground there, and it's either going to be a bomb, or it's going to be a ceasefire with conditions, and you don't have what?
all a ceasefire
I believe-
is a moving of your own troops to attack. That's all a ceasefire is.
It depends
Yeah,
it depends if it's done global. Like
Well,
if
in
they-
military strategy, that's all a ceasefire is moving your soldiers.
yeah,
to
repositioning, rerouting. Yeah, I get it, but it's just yeah, maybe it's a peace trade then, a negotiation. But
Want
I
to
think
play a
macroeconomically,
game?
what?
Said, would you like to play a game? You know,
The only way to win is not to play the game.
exactly.
Oh, which reminds me, we forgot to ask Josiah an important question, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm not going to mention it now, but when you said play a game, it reminded me of player 2 joined and insert coin, and you get what I mean, Dave.
Yes, I forgot to ask that.
We're not gonna do that
Yeah,
question.
we're gonna leave that alone.
Yes. Yes, I had to put that smile on your face.
When you come to a utensil in the road, what do you do with it? Pick it up.
Yeah, pick it up.
Pick it up.
But the thing is, it's an interesting landscape, and I think it's also a testament to the fact that there are no markets anymore to create more liquidity. Every single, like the Bank of Japan, I think Javier shared that this week, that they were freezing up on their, on their system. Japan, the country that never freezes up on anything and publicly apologizes if the train is 1 second late. That country, that country froze twice. Like, did the guy commit suicide already, or was it just an inside job? I don't know. Probably his entire family is ashamed right now, but it's just I don't buy it, right? I don't fucking buy it. I don't fucking buy it twice. Come on, at such a time.
Everything's lining up perfectly, right?
Everything
place.
is lining up. So there is no exit liquidity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the everything bubble. And like you were saying with Evergrande, I do remember Evergrande being like one of the largest holders of real estate. So is that going to be the next real estate crash too?
No,
It's
it's
the
not.
everything bubble?
No, exactly. No, it's the everything bubble. It's not just, but I think I mentioned pensions because it's the biggest liquidity, but everything's going tits up. Like,
Yeah,
it's
CalPERS.
you're going to get a devaluation of your dollar and your euro overnight. But
And how much did you
it's,
say they just printed
Dave,
in
for
one
us,
day?
Oh, they just did it again. 33 billion in one day or something. I don't know what it
yeah,
was.
but for
More
us,
than
that day, that D-Day of devaluation, for us, that will be Champagne Day. That's
That's why we're in the assets we're in. I mean,
that's the irony. I mean, if
it
one
is.
goes down, the
It's-
other goes up.
yeah.
Where did we be pulled into right now? Do y'all realize that during the sickness, stocks were going up? There's nobody in the building. There's nobody advancing, and nobody questions that. Nobody wonders about. You know what? Nobody's buying as much of this. crap. Nobody's buying.
We're two brothers now.
I know.
Not fun. Great discussion, peeps.
And the tooth
Yeah.
fairy.
Sorry to break you off again, Javier. I just saw a comment at the bottom, and it disappears in a few seconds. So.
Oh.
Nobody's buying bonds.
No, not so much that. The stock market, I ask people all the time, and they go, well, I hold I got stock because they were doing great. Remember that, Clint? Whatever the stocks were just going up. Everything was going up. And so I go, show me the paper. Oh,
Show
one
me the
more advance.
certificate.
Where's your stock certificate? You got that?
It's held at Seed and Company at Water
Right.
Street, which flooded in Hurricane Sandy, then set fire twice.
Imagine
Who
that.
leaves a
It's
freaking
like committing
vault open?
suicide by shooting
Who
yourself
left
in the
the
head
vault
twice
open?
in the back.
And if you don't see it, and if you're a sucker, all I could possibly say to people, and this by no means is financial advice, but do you see the chairs that are missing every time the music's?
I opt out
Eventually,
of,
there's going to be one.
I
Better
opt
sit
out
down
of
while you
corruption.
can.
I opt out of corruption.
Well, the thing is,
Go ahead.
and I'm going to say something controversial. I'm going to say something really controversial. Yeah, it's never been better than this.
Yeah.
That's the weird shit. Like this is how it is, and this is the best we can do. Really,
Yeah,
there's a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah. You know what? There's a lot of room for fairness. Fairness makes this a lot better. And you know what? That's what Bitcoin was about. Because you know what? They could follow you, Clint, but you could follow them. And so if you're showing your nuts, then everybody's nuts.
Yeah, so I wonder. So
Show my nuts when you want to. That doesn't work that way. To me, we need to get a fair system, and I'm hoping and praying that some of the coins that I'm invested in seem to be going that way.
I don't think we're going to get a fair system.
And it doesn't mean that the derivative market goes away. That's how you make money. That's how everybody makes money. But it's got to be checked. There's got to be a check and balances. You can't go rogue like some certain country did. And now I think they're throwing dollars in debt.
Well,
Watch what they do, not what they say.
I honestly think that it's such an interesting time right now, and I'm excited, but I've got my excitement under control because I'll be sharing a good story with you. When I joined crypto in 21, 4 weeks after my investment, it crashed. That was my start. And I called that, I got fucked. I got fucked properly. Don't worry. So my initial start, I wish there was spit. So my initial start was a little rough. And I call that, you kind of pay for your training wheels, but it kind of woke me up. But it woke me up immediately. It was a good thing in hindsight. At the time, dude, I was fucking devastated. I was like, I'm going to have to DCA my ass out of all of this. I did. Don't worry. I did. And then some. But it is, it's been a long fucking road since the beginning. Like, I couldn't have started more painful than that at the beginning of a fucking bear market just 4 weeks before. Yeah, you're an idiot. I know. But, you live, you learn. And that's been the start of my thing. And I'm looking at it 2.5 years now. I'm like, yeah, I've done quite some reading. I've done quite some, understanding of the space and the technology. I have a lot more to catch up on, but I've only been in this since 21, so that I'll do that.
Well,
But first,
with any market, though, I would suggest that that's more the Jim Rogers approach. That's been my approach, is that you buy the market on the down, and that's what I did in 2014, right after the Mt. Gox crash. 2014, 15, 16, and then 17. Yeah, I could have retired in 2017.
Dave,
I'm
I'm not worried. Look, if this was really going to cash out the way we think it does, and for me, it's going to be the first time, so I'm a little bit skeptical still, obviously. But if it does happen, I'm going to do it again. And
I see it
I'll hang
I mean,
around. Don't worry. I'm not going anywhere. But I am going to do more of a private life and work balance, but I'm not going to go away from this. Too much fun. I'm having too much fun.
Put it this
Can't wait what I can discover next.
The only profitable hobby I've ever freaking had.
well, and they haven't finished fucking everybody yet. How many did you say? How many people are truly in this market right now? 2%, 3%, let's go 5%.
I think it's less.
There's
I
still
think well, no. I'll break it down real quick. So if you have, say you're an influencer, you got 100,000 followers. Okay, well
How many
there's what 8 billion people in the world. That when you do the math, it works out to 0.0000125%. We're not even 1% of the market right now, and it's obvious based on the numbers that we're seeing here on YouTube.
I think Javier.
If you hashtag Digibyte, I mean, it's like a shadow ban.
Yeah. Put it this way, you got the first suckers in, and they learned their lesson, and now they're OGs. Now there's going to be other people that are going to become OGs, and there's still going to be more suckers. And it could be that Dave's right. There may be 2-3 more cycles of this because you think they're going to have the people's money.
No, I kind of have a few opinions on it, a few different ways that I see it. I do see growth further after regulation. Don't get me twisted. I do see growth in 29 and 35. So that and maybe a little bit in between, but I do see that. But yeah, free cycles. That's a good thing to call out.
29 and 33.
However,
29 and 33.
I'm gonna make it a little bit more difficult with a thought experiment. And this is, I think, a point that I haven't heard a lot, or maybe never. And it's something I come up with that kind of undermines my own argument. I do that from time to time. Is that we are not dealing with your average asset here. We're dealing with an asset that is finite.
Yep.
So what does that mean? It means that when the big boys say, for example, Bitcoin is a banana tree, and you've got 4 groups of chimps surrounding the banana tree right in the middle, and the banana tree is ripe, and we're going to eat it. And Fidelity wants it, Vanguard wants it, BlackRock wants it, and fuck it, Berkshire Hathaway wants it. They all want the banana tree. Those are the 4 chimps. And the gunshot is being shot. Regulation, poof. We can all run for the banana tree. What do you think happens? They're all going to get 1 banana and then say, let's wait until we all get 2 bananas? Fuck no, they're going to get the entire tree in one go. And they're going to go at each other's throats, and we're going to get the entire fucking tree and everything in the tree. We're going to eat the bark. We're going to get the miners. We're going to get the hash rate. I want Trezor. I want ledgers. I want the whole fucking marketing, the media campaign. I want all the fucking influencers bought. I want everyone on the fucking payroll of the entire space. I want everything bought. Ledgers, miners, lawyers. I want everyone on my team. I got the money. I want the whole fucking thing. I want the whole fucking tree. So why would there be a few more bigger cycles? Obviously, there will be. Look, there will be, because after institutional money, there will be enterprises, and after enterprises, there will be retail. So yes, I do think this, but I think this will be the financial investment firm cycle, and I think it's bigger than the enterprise cycle, the multinationals, which will come in 29. Also a big part, but this one's bigger. And then after that, you'll get retail. Still a lot of people, but a lot less money. So I think that's what we're going to see. So from that perspective, I think that this thing that's going to come after this one is probably going to be the big one.
Yeah.
Well, and the ironic thing is that years ago they laughed us off the stage, even for offering this as an option of crypto. And
they always have, because you shit on the thing you want.
Well, wait a second. And now they're beginning to realize that we are correct in that the last financial instrument created was the bond in the 1600s. That's how big crypto is.
Yeah.
What did Jamie?
That's how big, exactly. But it's also, Dave, it's also, the thing is that makes it difficult for me to underline this argument that I come up with myself, is the fact that we're dealing with a finite asset. unless there's a paper Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we deal with a finite asset. So there is no waiting to get 1% of your money allocated into Bitcoin. No, you buy the whole fucking thing as much as you can get your hands on. Why would you allocate only 1% of your assets if you can never get more afterwards? You would buy everything because you'd sell it at some point anyway. It doesn't fucking matter. It's finite. Or it's so.
Right now it's at 27, somewhere around 27. We know it's going to 100. It's not low enough. Really? Almost four isn't enough. We put it this way. We are suckers. And if 4X, where have you 4X your money in any stock, in any fucking business that you've ever done? Understanding the game is so much more.
You're incredibly correct, but we're not talking about retail numbers. We're not talking about a 2, 3, or 4X. That's retail. We're not talking about enterprises doing a 10, 20, or 30X. We're talking about institutional investors. They want maybe a 1,000,000X.
3 zeros.
Minimum.
This is what I'm trying to say. If right now retail won't buy at 27, you think they're going to buy at 100, 150?
Yeah.
50? That's what I'm trying
No,
to say.
but I will, and I will
Javier,
sell
you
it
know what?
down
You
for a
know,
profit.
you know what they say, Javier? You're going to buy Bitcoin at the price you deserve.
Correct.
Buy Bitcoin, but there's never
Yeah,
going to be
Litecoin
this.
or Digibyte.
We haven't gone back. Is the next time that we go down, we go close to 60, 59, $50,000? Because we haven't ever
Look,
gone back.
it depends on the market, but after we look, after regulation hits and institutional money is in it, we don't go down anymore. We just see a growth with adoption from enterprises, and after that from retail.
Retail, corporate and all the other people coming in think they're going to sell us Bitcoin for 27, for 50 after it hit 100. They won't be selling. You won't be selling. Why would we sell on our Bitcoin? I mean, when you start breaking it down and go deeper, why would I ever sell my crypto? Why wouldn't? Put it this way: when the guy in New York that owns the big building over there,
Javier, I'll be very honest. Like, we can do it gradually, but I'm gonna live. Like, I'm gonna fucking live. Like, I'm not cut out. I don't have the family to create my own fucking dynasty. I'm not in the empire business. It's not me.
I am.
So, yeah, I know you are, but you got some fucking to do, Dave. You got some kids to make. And if you're in the empire business, I want at least 3. So, you know. And maybe I'll think differently about it in 5 years from now. I don't know.
Phil, I think that you have the luxury that you have time, and that time it's incredible until you talk to an 18.
Last year, I found a lump under my armpit, and it turned out to be a cyst. I had to do a biopsy, and it wasn't cancer, so I was happy. But when you say, you got time, I don't fucking know if I do.
Yeah, we
don't
know.
Tomorrow isn't a guarantee, mate.
No, tomorrow isn't a guarantee. But you know what? I don't live my life as fall on me tomorrow, or I could get hit with lightning here in Florida, or I don't live that way. I live like I'm going to live for fucking ever. And we still going to do it. You do it now, you're going to do it at 60. But you feel the time crunch. Like, right now, I wish I would have done things different in the last 5 years, but I'm okay. I'm still okay. I'm not lacking anything, but you could have played the game better. Now I know that, and the reason I know that is because I'm around some people that I could bounce off my ideas. Before, there wasn't anybody that would even, I would bring up this conversation. Nobody went. I remember.
For me, Javier, it's more like.
Look at my go.
For me, it's more like, where are all the people with the actual genuine smart IDs at? And if I look at these spaces, you have people actually knowledgeable on topics, and you have people just following the crowd. That's fine. But if you look at like the knowledgeable people in certain crowds, you just naturally gravitate towards different projects. If you don't gravitate towards the bullshit, I'm sorry, I'm gonna fucking offend a lot of people here, but you don't really go to NFT. I'm sorry, unless you absolutely make them and you make money on them. Fair kudos to you, fair play, because that's genuine, legit. But if your only business in crypto is because you want a cool picture, you're the exit liquidity. I hate to say it, but you are.
I'm just going
And they were.
And they were
In
with
France?
AWT, and they're going to be with Solana, and they're going to be, yeah, they are. But
Yeah.
it's that aspect that I find with people in Bitcoin maximalists. I don't like their temper, but I do like their intellect.
I know
It's
where they're
the
coming from.
that I find with people in Litecoin and in Digibyte. It's the same people that I find in Veritasium. Well, it's even some people in Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. Even though I think Greg Wright is a fraud, I do see the thought process of people that subscribe to it, even though I think it's very difficult for them because I think it's a fraud and they don't think it's a fraud, they believe in. But that's the con man. But it's the same angle that they at least want to look at the market for. So I think that's for me, that's always a good bullshit detector that I think, well, I think I'm in the right room, right? I think I'm in the right place of this market where it's going. I think this is where I should be. People that know the legislation, people that know the insights of the actual, code of the actual tech, that actually work with it, that understand the fundamentals. So that's for me the measurement. And I'm talking too much. Take over.
And you know what? That's what makes us stronger is that I've written down that I will think about and then try to ask more people questions, or it'll naturally start coming out. And we're there. I mean, I think that we're hitting the nail on the head. We're still early. Is there a lot of smart people out there? They're just not talking about it like we. Maybe we're the only dummies. Well, y'all are the only three dummies that are smart.
Well,
And
when I found out, Javier,
they're right. I'm just dumb. It's
Savant,
not
maybe.
But what I'm trying to say is there are people like your and Papanopoulos or whatever his name is. There are people out there. Did they give up on the idiots that just like Canelo? I mean, how many years has that guy's been around for a long time? And if all they're asking for at every meetup, what's Bitcoin going to hit?
well,
I'm getting right
There-
now for my own family.
you
Go
touch
ahead.
on a lot of things. But to your last point, Josiah said, the Bitcoin isn't what it used to be. I think that's a part of it. And to the point before that, it's just
What does that mean? What does Bitcoin not what it used to be? We're not following. This isn't the Bitcoin. Dave said it today, touched in the mouth if you were mentioned. If this Bitcoin was mentioned in 17, I agree. But we are in this bullshit ET.
What I wanted to say is that what I find out is that many people tend to specialize in one or two things. Fair play to them, I get it, because they're at one part of the market that they understand, and that's where they make their money. So whether that's trading on the VIX, trading on the Dixie, trading on the pension funds, trading in real estate, trading in electrical vehicles, trading in rare metals, everyone's got their niche. And there are great spaces on Twitter that deal in that. So you get that content, you get that information from that market. It's very specialized. It goes into depth that goes over my head, at least half of the time, that I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and I'm just Googling everything they're saying, and I'm learning a ton, but I don't get it initially, and I still don't get it completely because they touch on so many things. But it's great to actually get the grasp of where their market is moving, and if I know that, then that's what I need. And if you do that, you also start to realize that there are not a lot of spaces that I found online that actually talk about the whole fucking globe as good as you could. You know, they're not there. I mean, there's a Bloomberg, or there's like a, what's that guy's called with that Zero Hedge that does a great articles sometimes on certain things. It's
Hey, real quick, I don't want to interrupt, but I am going to. My phone's about to die, Dave. I'm going to switch over to the other phone, so you bring me back in when I hop out.
cool, Clint. Talk to you soon.
He's buying more crypto. Go ahead.
Yeah, what's the market doing at the moment since he stepped out? Hold on.
You just pressed the kill switch on Litecoin.
He's buying more crypto.
No, so the thing is, I think that if you look at it like that, there's not many people touching on the entire market. And if you can find a few, please send them my way, because I'd love to hear their opinion. That's just the last thing I wanted to say to everyone listening. If you find people talking about the global market that I don't know about, please share.
You buy more crypto, Clint? I know that.
Yeah, and
I
the
know
market
you.
dipped. I had to pick up some Digibyte. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think it did.
Oh,
What is
that's-
the ratio right now?
And Digibyte always dips.
It's about 10,000 to 1. Litecoin to Digibyte. It's sitting at about 10,000 to 1. 1 to 10,000.
So you'd be up 50% based on the last call.
Yeah, if you would have bought it 15,000 to 1, man. I mean,
Yeah. And it's a great buy. Anything over 10. I agree with you, Clint. Anything over
yeah, it
10?
goes over 10, it gets out of whack, and then it overcorrects like it always does. And so, you know, you can kind of play within that range. But I mean, I can see it going back to 5,000 to 1, or maybe even better at some point. So it's a
I think so.
long-term thing, though. You got to really watch it, and you pick your moments. And I mean, hey, I'll hold Digibyte, Litecoin, doesn't matter to me. I love them both.
Hey, guys, I don't want to be a dick, but just a housekeeping question to Dave. We're past 2 hours of stream. How long do you want to go?
Doesn't matter to me. That's why I always hold up 2 fingers.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right. Well, that meant 2 hours.
Right. So you're on the clock, but I just figured I'd check in.
That's.
Was that
I mean,
for-
I'm good with wrapping it up if you are.
Yeah, me too. We can do a little bit of that 2 hours. That's fun.
Come back next week. Come on, you know, tune in next time.
For sure.
Same bat channel. Same.
Yeah,
bat
we
channel.
had Josiah. We had some great macroeconomic talk, and then some great crypto talk. I think we covered a lot of shit.
Yeah.
A lot of it. And I can't wait for Friday.
I can't wait till the 30th. See what the hell you.
Yeah, let's hope I'm right, because if I am, then I'm right about the rest.
Buckle up,
gunshot-
Buttercup.
It's the gunshot to the banana tree, Javier.
Yeah. Banana hammock for my swimming. Never mind.
Gotcha.
I just try to be fun. Anyway.
Yeah, I think we're hitting critical mass. So, any parting words?
Yeah, the show's going downhill right now. Let's leave it a good.
I've got a few
Before that,
parting words. Anyone's ever been with a redhead?
Yeah,
Guilty.
yeah. There's a shit to you.
I'm a happily
afterwards.
married man. Those days are in my past.
There's a saying for that.
I know.
It starts red, and there's something.
Well, you do know that's what we used to call, you know, it like.
I think we need to close the stream first, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. But
We're talking redheaded mermaids.
Deep enough.
well, I'll leave this with everyone. That's an RCH, right? Because the hair of a redhead is actually thinner than that of a blonde or a brunette. So I'll leave it to your interpretation of what the C is, but it's widely used in the UK. So, but that hair is
Yeah.
actually thinner than a blonde or a brunette.
Right.
So when in automotive, my degree is automotive technology. If we needed, just a little bit more shaving off, it was an RCH off of the end or whatever. So that's what
Well,
we would call it.
I'm just glad you did the math.
Yeah. All right, guys. So
Before we get,
yeah, we're off in the weeds, literally. So anyway, look, I guess
It's
that's
a-
it. Yeah, tune in every week to us every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. London. And let's hash it out. So comments and questions are open. Want to thank all of y'all for showing up. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. Y'all go make it a day. Later.
Bye-bye.